a copy, and on that day he was posting on Facebook, hey, the copies just arrived. We're so happy to get them. And so the reason this is so interesting is that the guy who translated that book, he's a Word of Grace missionary. So a translator missionary. And you might thinking, oh yeah, we know him, Leo Kuyper, right? No, Leo Kuyper is not any longer with Word of Grace Mission. And we've got a guy from the Kaaba, and I'll show him to you in just a minute, but he's translating now for Word of Grace Mission to prepare literature for us to train new guys. And so the question about what is Word of Grace Mission, I suppose I don't have to get into that too much. Here's a few pictures, but I trust that you know a little bit about it, right? Word of Grace Mission. I'm putting this up because some folks where we are going this year, they have never heard of this mission. Anyway, it's about freedom, about helping the missionary fulfill their calling. There are missions that sort of manage the missionary, and there are missions where the missionary feels the Lord's calling and goes, and then the mission supports him, and that's how Word of Grace is. And the main field is Brazil. It has been for a long time, but we've got new work opening up real soon in other places. So I'm excited about that because I'd love to see the grace message grow all over the world. I think it's not growing fast enough. What do you think? Enough? True gospel, the one that saves people, being spread all over the world in an efficient manner. And I think as far as our missionaries, you know these guys, right? I know them as Mom and Dad. So these are my parents, Bernardo and Carol Craesmeyer, and these are some of the recent shots of their work. This was not a conference, this was a leaders conference. So pretty much all the people in these pictures, and this picture down here, they're leaders in their churches. And this was a meeting of leaders to get them stronger in the word and to get them more united. So you can tell that in this unity effort, I've got some accomplices. This picture was taken in my dad's area, so the south of Brazil, and it's this is not Tijucas, but it's close to Tijucas. Now I know that you've been to Tijucas. Do you remember interior? Did you visit São João Batista? You went there, right? All right. So not far from there, this place is going a little further to the interior, but it's something like. Do you remember, Mari, if it's a 20-minute drive or something like that? On the direction to Brusque. Yeah. So it's not far from work. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? All right, and then we have here us. I wanted to mention a little bit of what our plan is, because we will now be going to the city of São Paulo over here. Yes, it does have a weird accent over the A. Okay. We're going to that city. We've got 21.5 million reasons for us to go there. It's the big New York of South America. And so it's a big city. And then the next biggest cities of South America and of Brazil are Rio. You've heard of Rio? If you've seen the little kid movies about the parrots, you have seen in cartoon form a bit of the scenery of Brazil, and some of it is quite accurate. And then the third biggest city is Belo Horizonte. Basically São Paulo has 21 million, Rio has 12 million people in the metro area, and Belo has about 6 million. Those are the three biggest cities in Brazil. And amazingly enough, when I started off focusing on these cities, thinking, someone got to get the gospel, I didn't have any context in them. I didn't know anyone in any of these places. And now, as you can see, you've got pictures here of people who I know, who we're planning to work with, at least to visit and see about the possibility of moving forward with Bible studies. This guy here, he's to be a Baptist preacher in São Paulo. And he got to read literature, that Word of Grace, and now he's a grace preacher in São Paulo. And he's eager to get something going there. So we're probably going to be working with them. I still don't know. So this is something I would ask for prayer about Alberto's family, the possibility of us working together with them. Please pray about that. But it is a strong contact in the city of São Paulo. And I don't know if you know this, but a strong Grace Church in Portugal, so they also speak Portuguese, and this man has been over there a couple of times, even recently, speaking to the saints there, and I also have contact with them, but it's nice because we can use some of their literature, and they can use some of ours to train folks in the ministry. The family in the middle here, I've had for more than a year now, Ednei, that's how we say Ednei, and his family had exchange, mentorship via email and phone type of a thing. We've been in training for a while now, and when we go there, we want to see how that can go forward and start a Bible study, something going on in Rio de Janeiro. And then this guy here, we've been talking a lot. He's actually putting together the website for Word of Grace Mission, so he's helping a lot in the ministry. His name is Alceu. This is him over here. Do you know this guy? Pastor Don Webb? Yeah? He's the current director? Huh? Yeah, he went to Brazil. This picture is in Brazil. He was just there now in October, and so he returned recently. We visited. It was already November when we visited? Yeah. Okay, so he came back from Brazil just now, and he was there for a couple of, I was going to say a couple of weeks, 2 couples of weeks. Okay, so he was there for a month. He was there for that leaders meeting. He was there to teach, and he was there to encourage the brethren to see how things are going in the south. This guy here over in the middle, let me switch because, before I switch, basically this guy is Wezo. His name is Wezo, and I will speak more of him. He is the translator right now. He is the Grace Mission translator. But I wanted to mention this. We're doing a plan because we did Bible school in South Africa, and we saw that of all the ministries, the Bible school was one that was producing the most fruit. We're going to try to do something similar in Brazil. It's been a dream of never really got into it. Now we're going to try to set something up in São Paulo. But of course, there are other cities in Brazil where there are grace believers who need training. They can't all go to São Paulo, so we want to have something that's local, but also something that is online. So we're planning that. But for that, we have to have all our literature ready to go. And that's why they're working so hard. Let me go on because he would be the third missionary family that I wanted to mention. This is Wezo and Daisy. I don't know how you read that in is that better? You can see better with the light? All right. Anyway, Wezo and Daisy, we were starting a church in the city of Sorocaba, and they main couple from that city, and this guy grew so well and was so strong in the faith that he has now become a missionary to translate books. I have a list here of the things he already translated and some of the new things that he wants to do. But I wanted to mention about him that in I don't even know how long it's been. He's just been accepted into the mission. So some of the translating he was doing just because he wanted to ahead of time. But in a year, a little over a year, in a little over a year, he has got a lot of translating done while still being the full-time pastor of the church in Sorocaba. So this guy is efficient. I like the way he works, and his is so good. If you would speak to him, you would say, his English is a little, rusty. And that's okay. He doesn't really work with the spoken English so much. He's more with the written, and he's good at that. He's really good. Wezo is, we're going to try to print something like this, a prayer card for him. We don't have it yet, so I was going to say, please take a prayer card, pray for Wezo, and consider supporting his ministry as well. But I don't have that printed yet. So if you don't, we would like to send some, and we'll talk later with the leaders about that. This is our last slide. This is the one where I put everybody to sleep. If you're not already, okay. No, I'm just joking. But we do ask you to pray for us. Word of Grace mission is growing in a way that it hasn't in many years. And so that's very encouraging for us. And we would like to just ask you, please, continue to pray. Back there at that table, we have another display with other pictures that I haven't included here. Just look around. We have a bit of extra room in the display because someone from the last church we visited, they thought, this is a good picture, I'll take it. And they did. That was hilarious to us. Don't do that. If you'd like, we can give you a picture. We can email it to you. I suppose you could take it too, because then we'll print it again. But anyway, we haven't reprinted that picture to put it back there. But do sign up. If you don't yet receive our updates, please do so. Now, if you're not an email person, you don't need to sign up, because we do try to get the physical letters to the church. But we actually write more email updates than we do the paper letter. But I believe, Pastor, you still print them, right? The emails, you still print them so that the church can see. So if you would like to receive those in your email, that's just as well, because then you can always write back and say, hey, what about this? And hey, you said you're doing that. And hey, how's this going? I really like that so much. That's why I put encourage here, because keeping in touch, and sometimes you're on Facebook, you see a picture, you say, hey, that's nice. It looks like it's growing. That stuff encourages us, and we feed off of that. We really need that. And then if you want to give, of course, it can be, this is the address of the mission. It hasn't changed, so if you have that already, it's all the way it was before. The thing that is changing is that electronically, you're able now, I didn't know this. This is quite amazing to me. In the bank, you can have your checking account set up to do bill pay. And the bank sends the check to the address, so you don't have to. I thought that's convenient. Anyway, that's possible too. And you would have to use the memo on the website. There's a memo box to designate whether you will send it to Wezo, whether you will send it to us or to my parents, or even to the mission for the needs too. All right, so please take a prayer card. Please keep prayer, and I think I don't have to really ask that, because I can see by the board back there that we're kind of popular around here, so I like that. Really, we'd like to thank you. We are so appreciative of coming here and seeing you again, because we don't do that often. It's something like every 3 years, but every time we come, it's such an encouragement for us to be with you. So we thank you. And guys, any questions you may have, if you don't want to ask them now, that's fine. You can ask them later. We're available, even for the hard questions, except for Pastor Bergner. He's not allowed. His questions are too hard. Yes, brother. Oh, that's good. Okay, so basically, all the week evenings, that's when folks are more free from work. Every one of the evenings was filled out with Bible studies in different homes. So not much of activities at church per se, although you saw we didn't have a church building for any of these two groups yet. Some of the other groups that are more established, they do have a church building. For us, it was still much in the beginning, so it was at their homes already anyway. So yeah, during the week, meetings that during every day, someone else's home, And then on Saturdays, every other Saturday was a Bible school or visiting someone when we didn't have Bible school. And then, of course, Sundays we have the meetings at the church, at the garage. Do you have a follow-up on that one? So most of our work was with the black tribes. They have this thing where they say there's the blacks, there's the whites, and there's the coloreds. And so the coloreds would be folks that are sort of mixed, but they are so segregated that they just keep to themselves. So the coloreds are from generations ago, and they sort of stayed like an in-between culture. But then the blacks, they have several different tribes, so they also have their own fights among them. It's, I go to South Africa, I'm thinking, the white people, they hate the black people. The black people, they hate the white people. Okay, I understand that. I've seen it in the U.S. That's not how it is. You get to talking to the blacks, and they're like, those people, they're Tswanas. I don't like the Tswanas. And, that goes on too, and they will have this against each other. And of course, you may know this goes clear back into the days where they were taking slaves. It was one tribe against the other, enslaving each other to sell them for money. And so that hasn't, the feelings of we're this tribe, so we're better, so we hate every other one, that hasn't changed too much. But there is quite a bit going on with this taking back, as they say. Let's take back what belongs to us. And even on that, those grounds are very shaky, because the tribes that are in South Africa now, they weren't there before. They came from somewhere else, so there's this whole thing of we're entitled to this land because of our ancestors. It's kind of, there's a lot of debate, but there is from the government right now a push to take white land, the farmers' land, the Boers, and the English farms, to take it from them and give it back to those it belongs to. And of course, how that's decided is very dirty. That's very corruption right there. There's more talk of it than actually happening. It did happen. Yes, they're still voting about that, but there was one attempt. There was one farm that was taken, if I'm not mistaken. So the impression that